I was going to leave that in the recording. Oh man, no, I'm just kidding. No, it's all good. All right, 3, 2, yeah, right. Sorry. 2, 1. Please join me in welcoming Linda Vivah, developer advocate at AWS, but she's also a huge social influencer. You got to check her out on TikTok, Twitter. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and we're going to get underway and talk specifically about it now. Linda, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Linda, I got to give everybody a little bit of information on how we came about this discussion and why you're on the show. I saw you on Twitter and I saw some of your content that you've been creating on Twitter. And I was like, oh my God, she's like, this, the 3 simple steps, or how do you learn this? And I found it really engaging. And I found your personality like attracting the audience. I was like, oh man, I got to have her on the show. One thing led to another, reached out to you. We met up at the New York Summit and now here we are.
I love it. See, the power of social media. You get to meet so many cool people, and that's really what it is. It's all about community. I look at social media as community. So I'm so glad I posted that stuff on Twitter. I got to meet so many people. And we got to meet up in the New York Summit, which was really fun. Got to explore Javits Center with all the AWS booths. Lots of swag, most importantly.
Yeah, swag is always important when you go to these events. So today we're talking not only specifically about you and how you became a developer advocate, but about content creating. Maybe you're going to give me some tips on how to get started on TikTok, because I have avoided that, but based off some of your recommendations, it should be something I should be doing.
Yes.
We'll jump in that in a second, but also you were a wedding singer.
Yes.
Okay. I want to go
very weird.
I want to go right to that, because developer advocate, wedding singer, as much as they seem different, they are so similar, because you're doing is you're speaking to people. Well, you're singing to people, but anyway, how'd you get to become a wedding singer?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in a musical family. My dad is a singer. He sings in 16 languages. That's the bread on our table. As we're growing up, he immigrated, and that was the job he did. So we were always up at 3 a.m. playing, instruments and singing, and lunchtime was at midnight. So it was kind of a crazy, awesome, fun household, but I grew up with it and then was always performing with him. And so when I was a teenager, one way I started making, money on the side was I started performing at weddings. And then I did it for years till my second pregnancy. So like literally through like my first, my like kid, for years. And it's a lot of fun. I got to meet so many people, and there are a lot of correlations between developer advocacy and kind of being in somebody's big day on their wedding day and making it, fun and being able to facilitate that. There's the singing part. There's really also a strategic part to it. You want to kind of bring everyone together, right? And like celebrate, and you're kind of doing that through music. And here you're maybe doing, kind of advocacy on developers, a bit on behalf of developers. And it is also very community based. So there's also like a people aspect, right? Huge people aspect in both of them. So there is a lot of correlation there. And yeah, I find, music is also one of those things that brings everyone together and makes the world a better place in some respects. And I feel like so is like things are educational. And so I find a fulfilling part for both of them. And in an odd way, they're very similar.
So you're singing for the community, you're singing for customers, you're singing for folks, right? And you're building that engagement and the collaboration. But then now you're a DA, and you're pretty much doing the same thing. I find it similar. I find it an easy jump, like transition right to it, like a parallel move almost.
Totally. It's just that maybe I might be like singing on stage and speaking on stage, or speaking to videos, or video creation might be a bit different in some things you have to learn. But as far as delivery, like it's all about, the psychology of like people, right? Like really knowing how to interact with people. Now, through different mediums, you might have to do it in different ways. But yeah, what I like about TikTok is it combines music and messaging, right? So there's a lot of that too that plays into it, I think. So here and there, I'll do parodies and stuff and kind of use my musical background to change lyrics to songs and just have fun. I think that's the most important thing.
I think I'm going to sign you up as my mentor for TikTok when I get started. Like, okay,
Let's
Linda,
do
how the
it.
hell? I feel like such a noob. We'll get to that in a second. Maybe I've got a pitch for you, an idea
Yeah.
for a keynote or
Hmm.
reinvent or a workshop, right? Maybe we'll see you come out singing and doing a TikTok type thing to engage the audience and then right into it. I have to tell you, the audience nowadays is that will be totally down for everybody. I mean, you will capture them.
And it's virtually friendly too for anybody
Yep.
tuning in. I think we've gotten so used to just the short form type content as well, like as a society. We're just we're kind of getting used to it in every format. Even if a person's non-TikTok, those TikToks and that whole format is on YouTube. It's on
Yep.
Twitter. Technically, the videos that I posted on Twitter were on TikTok, and
Yep.
I just repurposed them. So, that's another thing that we could get to because, of course, I'm big on repurposing content and trying to do because time is limited, and I want to be able to interact with a lot of people and many different types of communities are on different platforms in tech. So you'll have more beginners in a certain area, and also some content needs to be therefore maybe not reposted, but for the most part there's a lot that can be reposted and repurposed. So that's something I ended up doing on Twitter because I wasn't a big tweeter previously to like posting videos on there. I was really silent on there for a very long time, and
Well, I
mostly on
only
the
stumbled upon you in the last couple of months, so you were
yeah,
definitely
because
quiet
that's
on
when I
there,
got
but
active.
I can guarantee you it has elevated your personal brand and
Yep.
awareness by posting on there and sharing.
Fun fact, I got hired because of TikTok. Because I think my skip manager found and manager found me on TikTok and Twitter. So that's just the note on the being able to give back to the community and using social media for that. I think it's just a cool thing to know. I guess that it reaches that kind of the tech community is very small on there, and you could really interact. Network is very important just as much as learning. I think being able to give back to the community as you're learning is really important. And I always encourage people to kind of teach as they're learning something fresh, because there's a perspective they have that they won't have later on.
Yep. I think
So
resumes are dead in a way where social media is your resume.
yep.
And I want to give an example. The other day I was talking with a folk, and he's like, I should have looked at your website first. Oh my God, you're perfect for this role. You're perfect for this opportunity. And he didn't even have my resume.
See, I feel like today, especially for DevRel, I would probably look at somebody, what they're doing, right?
Yep.
Whether it be open source, whether it be the contributions, like it just, you want to see what they're doing. And a resume is maybe helpful for certain things, but I feel like it's becoming kind of what a website becomes, which is like, in some ways, the second place you go.
Yep.
Like you need a funnel to it from something.
Yep.
Because you don't know enough about the person. And, I think like the way there's the common thing where people apply and their resume never gets seen in so many jobs. And it's like, it's hard to like differentiate yourself when you're just like a piece of paper, right? Like
Yep.
it doesn't really show who you are. So I think we have the leverage to do that today with the platforms that we do have available to us and the community that's on there. So, take advantage.
Yeah. Send me your social media links. Send me your post. Send me your video. You got YouTube. I'll watch that first. If I've got your resume in hand, I might get to that right at the call if I think the rest was good.
And you'll skim it for like 8 seconds.
Oh my God. Yep.
Nobody sits there like really studying it when you're trying to look at a bunch of resumes at once. I mean, it's not feasible.
Yeah. So Linda, walk me through the process when you create content and how you do it for TikTok, because you said, obviously you take your TikTok to Twitter, but walk us through it because I want to understand. And by the way, I might take some notes, but so I can get my stuff rolling.
Yeah. So I think there's a few things. It depends on the type of content, right? I have content that's timely, right? So it's something that is related to an announcement, and stuff that's more evergreen or something that could be posted at any time. When I say evergreen, right? So, for me, and it's kind of the same rule both for Instagram Reels and TikTok. I keep all my ideas on Notion, and I have kind of like a semi Jira board on there, and I have my ideas, because a lot of times when you're creating content, you need to have a spur of inspiration when you're doing it. And sometimes by the time you're editing it or recording it, you're not as inspired you're not feeling that wave. So kind of making sure you capture that when you're inspired is very important. So one, having a tool to put everything down in a way that I could script very easily is important. So I use Notion for that because I could quickly like drop down into my little like Jira idea and put the script in there. So I start scripting as soon as I can, the bullet point, the draft. Based on, you know, what I always try to kind of mix it up. So I do like some AWS content and some trends and some non-AWS content and kind of mix it up to different, because a lot of the people I'm gearing towards are beginners or maybe cloud neutral. So I want to be able to also let them find the content, which they might not even be looking for AWS content, or the people that are looking for AWS content kind of have that mix. So for me, it's very much like being able to balance it. So I look at the ideas, and some things I have to hop on because they're trends, and TikTok functions as trends. So that's a whole nother thing. But let's talk about the evergreen stuff. For evergreen, if it's something that's more educational, like a concept that I'm taking that's a large one that then I have to trim down or teach or show something in 60 seconds, that takes longer. So I know that sometimes by the time I write the script, it might not be published for another week or two, because I was doing this for a long time with another full-time job. I just recently joined now doing some developer advocacy full-time. So I'll probably be able to pump this out faster. But for me, it was really important to maintain my thought process when I was inspired, because I think that's such a big thing when you're creating content. There's an energy that gets kind of felt through. So I think if you're doing something that's more like yourself on camera a lot, and you're the whole time on the video on camera, that energy is felt. So that's one way. The other way, you'll see a lot of my content is only me for 2 to 3 seconds pointing. And that's kind of B-roll content I take maybe on one day where I change my shirt 10 times, and I have it. So when I want to talk about something and I'm inspired and I don't have time to film, I edit it. So I have these concepts and I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood to do this, do that. And that was when I was doing it less planned, I guess. Now I'm trying to plan it more out. So I kind of am
actually, you just spoiled it. You did this. I do the same thing where I have a template where I will change my shirt in a recording.
Yeah.
When you do like headshots, right, in a recording with a green screen, you change your shirt, do a bunch of different poses, and then you just insert them wherever you do, or you do some actions. And those are the days where you can get a lot done in a template format. There's nothing wrong with it, by the way.
Yeah. And especially when you're talking about educational content, like for example, I wanted to share a resource, right, that I think is great for resources to get started with X, right? So I was doing some research on that. You know, I kind of am looking, I think these are the 4 best. Here's what I tested. Here's what I checked. Here's what I don't like. You know, like I'm kind of doing the research there. And then, but I might be like in PJs and on the mood to be on camera. But here's my pointing video. Here's a sound that's trending. I use an app called Trend Talk to kind of see what's trending. So that's helpful. Plus, you know, I look at the apps. I kind of spend time on the apps daily to kind of see what's going on. But I try to also make sure I don't do too much of that I block my creativity. And what I mean by that is, like, you want to be inspired. You don't want to be drained. So too much of doom scrolling could be a problem. So you kind of need to balance like getting inspired and also being original and finding like what you want to do without the noise. And just like throw it on there sometimes and not think. For me, like the pointing ones are really great for productivity standpoint. So I love those because the rest of it is just my screen and I'm showing resources. For educational content, it's really helpful. Another thing I've recommended people do when they don't want to show their face as well sometimes, or don't have time, is to take videos of yourself working, even from the side or from the back, and time lapse it and literally put text above it with the beat. Because if the point is like putting a message, right, you're visually attracting people and you're showing it with like with music maybe that matches or something, but you're really trying to give information, right? The field of like tech, you're kind of giving a lot of info. You're just trying to make it bite-sized. So for that, that's another great way. I've seen it work for people I've suggested it to do. And it also, like, there are people who don't want to show their face, so that's a great way to also create content. And yeah, and for things that are trends, some things I'll do on the fly because they're trending. I'll at 2 a.m. suddenly feel like recording something, and that's great. And some stuff takes longer than others. I would say the things that are heavily boiled down, like things that are something that you have to do a lot of research and then boil it down to 30 seconds, that takes longer sometimes, because knowing what to not say without it being lacking, and with giving the right caption support to look elsewhere for the rest of the information is important, especially when you're starting to talk about like, you know, AWS or stuff like that. Like you kind of want to give people where to go, and doing that and supporting their journey is important, you know? So I'm always cognizant of that as well. So a lot of times the research takes me actually a while.
What's the ideal length of video that you create for TikTok, or can you create? And by the way, I
Yeah.
am taking notes because my first TikTok will be reviewed by you before I post it.
I can't wait. Let's do it.
All
The
right.
tech
So what's the
talk.
ideal length?
So the ideal length, I would say it evolved. So it used to be that like 7 seconds, 15 seconds was the best. They did expand the amount. You could put like 3 minutes, you could put 10 minutes now, but I would say that it's still the shortest that you could do it in many ways. Unless you're like, I've seen longer videos that tell a story, but they have to be really like you're like riveting, like, you know, or like a story that you really want to stay on for. So it kind of like YouTube in a way, right? Like where you kind of need to have people like stay on and like the engagement, but TikTok is even a faster version. So I would say the shortest amount you could say something is might be the best way, in a clear manner, or like with a feeling that you bring out of something. So there could it's not that everything needs to be said fast, it's that it needs to be delivered in the shortest way. Like if there's too many, like you'll see even people speaking on TikTok, they're never just speaking and not editing it. Like the ones that are like viral, they
Yeah.
usually have like cuts even on the like the pauses are, sometimes there's pauses that are needed, and there's some that like, you know, people don't have the patience, so it's like it's very like you see the cuts, you almost
Yeah.
feel the cuts, and it's really about like kind of delivering it in the shortest form in a way. But I think it leaves room now with a longer ability to give more deeper content in some respects, or give a longer like you know, tutorial that you couldn't do, right? If you wanted to talk about the 6 pillars of the well-architected framework, maybe, you know, a minute is a little bit tough, so like a minute and a half,
Unless
2
you're
minutes.
speed doing it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God,
right,
what?
yeah, like you're not gonna grasp any of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or for example, there's a lot of trends, you know, there's a lot of conversations, so you'll have like the same person kind of speaking like as 2 different people. So those things could be really engaging and could
Yep.
be longer as well if there's a storyline you're following, right? Think about a mini movie. So very much like this is storytelling. And if you're gonna make it longer, make it a story worth watching.
No. No,
That's pretty much it.
that's good advice. Make it a story worth watching. TikTok audio, or the trends you did, is that audio licensed? Like, can I, when you say you're finding that audio for it,
Mhm.
I'm always afraid of using, now I have a purchase a third party where I get my audio from, but can I use that audio in TikTok? Are they, is it allowed or what?
So yeah, so if it's copyright free, you could use the audio that you have if you have a subscription.
Yep.
But the audio that I'm using a lot of times that is not like that is copyright is from the library of TikTok. So when you create, you could save an when you see like a video you like and you hear an audio, and sometimes you'll see where it's from. A lot of times it's maybe musicians that people know, songs that are trending, and those are actually in the TikTok library for use. But it's like you have to leave it there. Technically, if you repost it to Instagram, you would have to add that song from their library. Otherwise, you're going to get. And there have been a lot of cases where people do mixes and post them, and sometimes they do get flagged. So the audio for everybody goes down. So it's there's been audio that has been removed from like sounds that I've used because, and everybody who's used them has. It's more like some people do mixes and some stuff is, you know, there's copyright issues, and there is a lot more of that happening currently. But I would say if you're using official songs that are like actually on there from the artist, you're fine if it's from the library. So
Okay.
you click like you literally there's a use sound button, and you're using the sound that TikTok offers you. So
Can I cut up that sound or
yes,
certain
you
bits
could
of
pick.
it?
Yeah, you could pick which part. So there's a way that when you pick the audio, you could scroll and pick the section you want to play. So usually it's very helpful also sometimes for musicians. It's just like there's a lot there that happens behind the scenes, I'm sure, as far as like who's posted, how that gets approved and all that. But usually you could tell when it's an official one from the album versus like something remixed, because you would see who it's by. So the chances of the official ones getting removed is probably less than ones that are mixes of a song that might get removed. There are also trends in audio that are more people speaking, like somebody spoke and they say the sound, and then people are like lip talking to what they're saying. So that is not music, but it's, you know, or there's a knocking trend that was happening recently that, you know, it's not a song.
Yeah.
It's just a beat. And you could bring your own. So like there's songs like I tend to do it a cappella just because I'm scared of copyright. So I was just doing it a cappella. Like I took Lizzo's It's About Time song, and pretty much like just changed it to a coding parody. But I was saying in a cappella, although I could probably use the track instrumental or something, but that was a sound. And then some people reused my sound. So you could also create sounds.
Are you using your phone for editing? How are you editing these to get out as quick as possible?
My favorite app. So a lot of times, I edit. So for context, I post the same video a lot of times on Instagram, TikTok, sometimes Twitter, depending on the video. And I'm about to start posting on LinkedIn, which I have not been doing, and YouTube Shorts.
If
So
you need help on LinkedIn, let me know. No, I can't say I'm an expert on that.
It's almost like I have to see. I know that LinkedIn has a lot more photos these days and some videos, but I'm kind of like trying to see which ones I want to pick to put there. Some things work, some things I feel like would work less.
Yeah.
So kind of the things that have a lot of meat from an educational standpoint, because I feel like that will do better. But I shall report back on any findings. But I think for TikTok, for editing, the question regarding editing, I used to edit in TikTok because they had an auto sync to a sound. So if I was picking a sound, sometimes if I cut all the videos I wanted, even if it wasn't to the T, it would almost put it to the beat, which I'm very sensitive to because I like things on the beat, like as the musician in me, like can't do it. It's like, but over time, I started using InShot because the quality of me editing there and then being able to download it in 4K and putting it both on Instagram and TikTok without the logo issues and all that is probably better. So InShot is an app that's like third party. It's just an editing tool, but it's great. You could even import sounds from video. So let's say if there's a sound you want to check on, even though you're not going to upload it with that sound, you will pick it from the library, but you could pretty much easily take the sound from TikTok by just saving a video with that sound and importing the sound into InShot. So InShot is the way I usually edit things. They're more complicated. If I'm doing a video in one shot, for example, like if it's just a trend that's 3 seconds, then I'll do it in the app. But otherwise I do a lot of InShot editing, it's on the phone. It's a mobile app.
And speaking of InShot, is not an official sponsor, but if you want to, just look in the description below.
Yes.
I'll just check. Can I do these videos? Can I edit them on my desktop and then actually upload them to TikTok, or does everything have to be done?
No, yeah. You could absolutely. I know Brooke, who works with me, she uses Adobe to edit all her videos. So absolutely, you could do it on desktop. You could do it anywhere. And then as long as it's just like the sizing is correct.
Yeah.
You're good. A lot of people do. I mean, there's a lot of people who edit probably on desktop. I am on mobile a lot because I like being on the go when I edit, and I'm also with 2 kids, and sometimes like I'm trying to do this editing in between, and editing could be time consuming, as you know. So, I try to keep my prime hours to filming and writing, and the editing sometimes I end up doing in the late hours, even though I probably shouldn't, but I'm still trying to figure out a kind of a cadence of sorts.
A happy medium and balance between creating content, editing content. I know editing.
Is there really any balance when you're on social media? I mean, it doesn't end.
Well, once you're there, it's any time, really. There's no specific time for doing it. It's like I find myself when like at the New York Summit or any of the summits I go to and I create content, I literally am sitting down at a table, editing quickly, uploading and posting almost within minutes as fast as possible, because I have like a template. I'll drop it on there and I want to get this information. This is key to the value of being out there quickly on social.
Yep. Agreed. I mean, I think that's the other end to it, right? There's the parts where you have to kind of like deliver fast and not overthink certain things.
Yep.
And that's something that I had to actively like get better at, because I used to be one of those people that would like really over perfectionize pieces of content. Over time, I let go of part of that because the truth is, like, it doesn't, that small differences that you're making, it's not really what's going to make a huge difference. And actually, it's just taking up time.
Yep.
And like the overthinking sometimes, it especially for short form, it's like, just throw it out there sometimes. It's don't overthink. And if I could tell myself anything, is I would have started earlier doing it and not overthink. Because it's funny, I started on TikTok by accident. So I was actually posting on Instagram, and I just decided I'll throw the videos on TikTok and
why not?
Because I was making short form videos. I was like, what am I putting this energy for and time? And I'm like, well, I'm all about, two birds in one stone. So time is, limited. I'm all about that. So I didn't know that there would be so much interest in cloud on TikTok, but TikTok was pushing educational content during COVID, during the beginning of COVID. They actually sent an email out to people who were active on Instagram to get payment to be on TikTok for educational content. But I didn't do it because at the time I had my second was under 1 and I hardly had capacity for like my job. Like it was just like too much. But I do regret it in some respect because it was a good time to be on there. Although it's still a good time. It's just the beginning. And it's one of the best search engines, to be honest, TikTok. That's the other thing. Gen Z, I think almost over 40% of Gen Z uses Instagram and TikTok as a search engine instead of Google.
Oh, there's some stats. It was actually recommended by a previous colleague of mine about TikTok Teaches. He's like, dude, you should do your podcast studio and set up. I told him, I said, that wasn't the first time somebody recommended it. In fact, I was speaking with somebody and she mentioned that she could do a whole TikTok
highly
series.
Recommend.
What's that? Now for a quick interruption. A huge shout out to our friends at Veeam for sponsoring this episode. Veeam Backup for AWS can easily protect all of your Amazon EC2, RDS, and VPC data. Wait a second. They can protect my VPC data too? Yep, that's right. Simplify AWS backup and recovery while ensuring security and compliance. All right, now back to our episode.
Highly recommend. +1.
I have to look at it. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know what my fear is. Maybe I'm up there in age, I guess. And TikTok, I always thought was like,
you know what it is? I think any new platform does that. Like, I think whenever you don't have, and I think it's really, how do I put this? I was scared of Twitter. And the reason was I was asking myself why. And it's because when you don't know your community on there, and when you don't have a support system, even like a virtual support system somewhere, it feels unfamiliar and it feels scarier. Because deep down, we're all like, no matter how much you're used to certain things, it's just like, it feels like it's like when you're walking into something new, right? In anything. But in a different respect, because you're putting yourself out there and it's vulnerable, right? Like, so that's where it feels like, but my suggestion is throw the content on there and don't look.
And don't look. Hey, I actually don't.
Like, if that helps, close your eyes and post it. That's what I did on Twitter. My first Twitter video that I posted,
out and see what sticks.
I posted like I was so scared to post the one where I was singing AWS services. I decided to sing as different AWS services, and I was so scared to post that on Twitter, like so scared, because that felt really vulnerable. Because it was kind of like, for me, like it was like my creative like craziness, right? Like, so I was like, oh, like it feels more vulnerable when you're doing something that's like, like you have the things that everyone's doing, and then you have some things you try that are quite different, like singing about services. And, I was nervous on Twitter because I know that Twitter is a lot of hot takes and like has like, I felt like I would get trolled maybe. So I closed my eyes when I posted it. And lo and behold, that video was how I met so many people.
No. So. I think that's how I stumbled upon you doing it. And then your other videos where you're pointing. When you create those videos, the template of you pointing to these services, do you have ones that say, okay, I need to point to 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I need one that's 3. 1, 2, 3. I gotta look this way. 1, 2.
Yeah.
I know you've got a boat.
I have B-roll. I actually have a folder on my phone with pointing videos. Like literally, so I could use at any point. And when a beat trends, I look at that folder sometimes. Of course, if I'm in the mood to record, I'll record it, but yeah, it helps because also even if I'm traveling or I'm going somewhere, like it kind of, I don't like giving away my location, for example, as well. So like till I've left. So I sometimes use that too to
Yeah.
do videos, even though like I might be like in Florida and I'm like posting like I'm in New York, you know, that kind
It's
of thing. So,
misdirection. Oh no,
yeah.
not really. Yeah.
Well, I say, but it's like always like, you know, and also like you have maybe a setup, right? Like you have a setup. So I like having my setup. And so if I'm somewhere else and recording somewhere else, I think TikTok is very forgiving as far as that. Like it's very
Yeah.
authentic. But it's still nice, like if you have your thing and your style that you prefer. So I sometimes like want to, like I edited a lot of my videos when I was in Florida for like 2 weeks on vacation and posted, and I had all the pointing videos because I had all these ideas and I was inspired, but I didn't want to record there. I was like not there in the headspace. I was
Yeah.
with my kids, I was with my family, you know, and it was like perfect. I had all these pointing videos and some of those videos did really well.
Do you have a backlog of all of videos that you want to post? Like, okay, so, here's how I do it, and I want to know if you have the same thing or kind of the same mentality. As there are at any given point, I might have 2 to 3 videos saved for if I don't have one that's ready to go in my podcast, I can throw this out there just to keep generating the content and the
Yes.
awareness.
Yes. And I do. And the thing is though, for me is one thing I'm always, I would say, sensitive to on my platform is the ones that I have on the backlog that are easier to make are sometimes not the heavy educational ones. And I always don't want my feed to be too not meet education. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So sometimes, even though I have the backlog, I keep that. But but always when it comes to like the educational pieces, I'm always like so hungry to just post it that I end up just posting. But yeah, I have to get better to keep it on a backlog. But yeah, I have like a lot of like I have like 2 to 3 always in backlog as well. So we're in the same wavelength.
You have to, because there are sometimes you were talking about like I don't want to say a creative block, but you're not in that mental state to
Mhm.
do a creation, right? You had this idea, you wrote this idea down, and you're so powerful to do it. You're like, I want to record that, but I don't have time. I'll get to it later. And then you come back and that energy for that's not there.
And there's no better time than the present when it comes to that. You know, I've increasingly realized that when you're in the headspace to record, if you could prioritize it,
Yep.
it sounds funny, but the later doesn't have the same energy sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes it's okay. Maybe people won't feel it, but there's something you could also discover when you're in that headspace that
Yeah.
you wouldn't touch on. So there's some things depending on what the topic is. For like stuff that's pointing and I'm inspired, I could do that at any time. But depending on the video, if it has a lot of energy exertion, for example, like if you're speaking, and you're in the mood and you're kind of there, there's times that I've forced myself because I realize that mental state is actually key. Like sometimes,
You can tell
depending
from
on
the
what the
energy.
content.
You can
Yeah,
tell from you
you
can
could tell.
definitely tell when I record something now versus later. You might not be able to do it because I have, like you might not be able to tell from the audience aspect, but my energy might not be there. Or I could be
Yeah,
highly energized because I thought of some additional things that I wanted to add to it. Like, okay, I got to set up this. Oh, I got to do this. I mean, there are some staging stuff that I like to do to prepare for
right.
recording, but there are also the improv ones. I did one that was out in my backyard promoting a book signing event.
And those end up doing, to be honest, the improv ones end up doing the
Yep.
best. Like the ones that I put so much time into sometimes aren't the ones that perform well, like versus like the ones that I do on a whim. And it's funny. And a lot of times I don't measure the virality as quality sometimes because I think, yes, there's things that go viral that might bring people in, but I think there are a lot of things that might be more niche that I don't look at it like it needs to be viral. Like it's quality and helping people. When somebody asks me the same question, I have a video. Like I'm very confident people ask and having a video for it. Like, and I keep bringing them back to this video. There's videos that have gone third or fourth wave because of that. Not because I'm trying to make, like, it's not about numbers. It's about like answering people's questions, but in a way that I could do it like, and scale. So, scalability of sorts. And so, yeah, a lot of common questions. That's another thing I'm trying to hit on a lot more, and prioritize and always take a step back and be like, okay, what's a question I constantly get when I don't know what to create content about or I'm not inspired? That's what I ask myself. I look back at people's comments and I'm like, what can I answer that I'm at the headspace to answer that helps people.
The viral ones that go and you don't understand why they go. I have an example for you, and I want to know of a viral one that might have went really like huge for you, and you're like, I would have never thought about that. There was one 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and this was not in my professional network, but I posted it on YouTube. I did a YouTube. It wasn't considered a short then, by the way. It was just a
Oh my
YouTube
gosh,
video.
it was just YouTube.
It was just
You see,
YouTube.
so you were ahead of the game.
Yeah, it wasn't considered. We were down in New Jersey, and my kids are big fans of Stephen Share. I don't know if you know him from some YouTube, right? And apparently he purchased a house somewhere in that area. So we were down there, and what we did is we actually found house number 3, right? So he's like doing it, and we stood in front of this house. I was like, kids, let's do a quick video, and I'll post it on Twitter, and I'll tag the guy, right? So I got on YouTube, shared it on Twitter. Over 50,000 views of this video.
That's so funny.
No lie. I was like, what the heck? Comments galore. Now I don't read all the comments because people are just trolls in some aspects.
Yeah.
But
when it gets a certain number, it's better not to read it.
Yeah. I was like, how is this doing this well? And it was just people, because I tagged him, I put him in the tags, I did all the SEO stuff, and it was an improv video. Like, we had no script at all. The kids were right next to me doing it.
I love that. But that's what happens. It's sometimes the things that come off, I guess, super authentic. And that's what I like about TikTok too. It doesn't need to be overproduced.
Yeah.
And it could be so raw. It almost is what makes it feel like you should always be doing it. But at the same time, it's a lot of work. And even when something feels very authentic, it might be, especially with educational content, could be a lot of work. Like, for me to say 3 things is also saying these are the 3 things, right? And whatever you're leaving out is also a message. So it's so hard. Like, that has happened to me where I posted something. I didn't think it would go viral. And like, I was like, oh, I wish I made it a little longer. But then and just added this, because people will always be like, oh, why didn't you say this in a 7-second video? Like, why didn't you? So for example, we were asking regarding something that went viral that I didn't expect. It was a Saturday. And I saw an article about it literally was titled Top Paying Certifications. And I assumed I'm speaking to people in tech that are maybe upskilling. So when you say top paying certifications, like, sometimes, like, to people who are beginners, I would say certifications are not like, it's not like you get certified and you get the job. It helps as a guide, but it's not required. Like, there's a whole context to certifications. But when somebody sees that title, they're like, oh, I get the certification, I get this job. This video, I decided to post like the top, I don't know, the top ones. There was 10 of them, and I posted 5 and said, read the caption for the rest. So I put the rest in the caption. This video got 2.5 million views. And let me tell you, it was like less than 7 seconds. So
why didn't wait? If you read each one, it would have been longer than 7 seconds.
So I didn't read it. I was just listing them with B-roll of me typing.
Yeah.
And I had the rest in the caption. But the problem is that, like, for people looking at it without reading fully, they just get the message, and then it reached people that were just like far from tech.
Yeah.
And in some respects, it was like a lesson for me too, that like how clear I have to make certain things, especially when it comes to that kind of stuff, right? Because I want to lead them in a direction I'm helping them. And of course, like, I could say, especially the certification topic, like, that's something I talk about a lot. And that, for example, like, for me, like, when I'm having a conversation, it's like a thing I will say, right? But if it's like written and this is the title, and I said the source of the article, right? But like, they weren't like, it was just like, it just became like viral to the point that like, you're trying to like explain to people after a 7-second video. And then I did a reply to that video. So that helped, giving
like a reply to a video. Like, you did a video on top of it. What is that?
Yeah. So a reply. So TikTok, how it works, and so does Instagram now. But when people comment, you could reply with a video. And then what happens is when you go to the video and you look at the comments, that video reply comes up. So I expanded on some things in that second video. Okay. But it's hard when you're trying to like, I was quoting an article that from a very valid source, like, about the top paying, and and that was like a lesson to me, like, just because an article says top paying certifications in a TikTok, even if the context is in a comment, assume people won't see the most important stuff. And it's like, so those are things like I've had to like figure out from like a TikTok standpoint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, now I literally have like a, by the way, like every time I post about certain things, it's like, this is a guide. This is not the way, you know, please read the caption. Like,
opinions are my own, mileage may vary.
It's like, but again, it's like, then again, how far can you go? Because if the more, like, as far as like a 7-second video, right? You can't also say everything you want to say. Like it's not going to happen. It's literally a way to be able to talk to people. On the other hand, there were so many people who started actually doing the research and I gained from that video a lot of following and community that was, I gave them further resources because of that. So, I mean, you'll have the people who just like want to assume, and I try to go through a lot of comments, and then at some point there's a lot of, you know, you just end up like there's a lot of trolls, and you're like
you have to ignore a lot of that stuff. Lessons learned. You mentioned one lessons learned. What are other lessons that you've learned throughout the process of creating videos that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah. I think bringing your full self a bit in some respects, like not being scared to try things. A lot of times, like it's good to start by maybe doing things that other people are doing and like practice. Like I always compare it to singing, right? So when you're learning how to, like when you're singing and you're trying to find your style, you imitate great artists or imitate a lot of things, then you find your voice over time. And I think it's the same thing with content creation. Like you try things, you throw darts, you see where your strengths are and your superpowers are. I still don't know what mine are, but my point is you play around with it and you find your thing that from a few respects, from a productivity standpoint, that you could actually commit to and support because there's a cadence to it. Like if you do something that takes you like so long and the output of it like is not worth your time, that's something to reconsider and play around with. Unless you enjoy it and want to do it anyway, then all for it, because it's not about like the virality. It really is about you enjoying doing it. Here's my second point. You have to enjoy doing it or it's not going to be consistent for you. And third, don't overthink too much. So, you know, sometimes you just need a post, and my regret is not even doing it earlier and not being less like super like calculated over it. Like it like sometimes like I'm trying to like research, and sometimes the best things are not really necessarily thought through. They're just helpful or answering somebody's questions or being candid. So I think finding your voice over time and taking risks and playing, like in the sense of like playing around with things. I think the beauty of these platforms is the creativity part. It's not there because the resources that you're sharing, yes, there's newsy things, but the resources that you're sharing are not new. There's a lot. I think the problem today is the influx of information and how to simplify it, right? So like use it to simplify things. Always, if you're not sure, take a step back and be like, how do I simplify this for people in my niche? How do I make it easier for them to do this? If you're helping them, you will succeed, and in a fulfilling way. You know,
I have to quote Nike on it, and just do it. Just, you know,
just
get your video out
I have
there.
a shirt I made that says just code it.
Just code it. You know, get started, but it's
just code it.
Just start writing the code. It'll work. It'll go there. I actually like that shirt. Well,
yeah, it's kind of like when people say, how do you start to learn anything? I'm like, just try to just dive. Like, I mean, it's hard to say, like, you know, but I think for coding, like you just dive in. Cloud computing is a bit different. I find it a little harder to guide people because it's like chicken and egg, you know, as far as starting with cloud, right? Because a lot of people getting into cloud come from something else, right? Especially for me, I came from web development, right? So it's like that completely new. So I always try to put myself in shoes of somebody starting with cloud, right? Completely new. And I'm like, well, maybe networking fundamentals, or maybe like, you know, and there's no one. Coding has a lot more of a path these days that you could give people versus just like general coding, like, you know, like web dev versus like, here's how to get started with cloud computing, which I think is a challenge we're trying to solve. But I think it could get really confusing for people. Yeah. They want like a specific like roadmap sometimes, and it's very hard to give them a roadmap.
It's hard to give them because you don't know where their perspective or their personality is going to take them. Yeah, they want to start coding, but what language do you like? What do you want to learn? What do you want to do is part of the thing. So jumping in there is probably a little tougher.
Right, exactly. So for just do it for like specific things, I'm like, and really, yeah. Sorry, I know we went on a tangent on that
that's all
topic for
right.
a
That's what
second,
this
but
whole conversation's
I
about.
know. Yeah, because like for me, it's like I think it was Lou from Open Up the Cloud, who he's awesome. He kind of always, his suggestion is learn enough to identify a role you want and work backwards from the role. And I love that suggestion because I think even if you don't end up going for that role, you will find your path by like aiming for a role, right? Because
Yep.
learning enough fundamentals to kind of like figure out what roles there are and then take a role and work backwards, which I love that suggestion. That has been something I've been like crediting Lou from Open Up the Cloud, and literally like I think that advice is solid. If
Work
anyone's listening,
backwards.
trying to get
True
into that,
Amazonian
yeah.
comment.
Meanwhile, I have a book right there that says the same thing.
I have that same book. It was recommended by a good mentor and friend of mine. Linda, before we wrap things up, give me some guidance for TikTok for creating it. All right.
Yeah.
So I want to create one. I want to get started. You said my podcasting setup. What is a quick way to just capture something, get it out there and see how well it does?
Yeah. So I think, for example, for you, I would literally take 3 seconds of each thing you want to show on a close-up, take one video that's kind of wide angle, and maybe an intro sentence like, I'm going to show you the setup, or you just show yourself walking in or something like that, or pointing, and you do a voiceover or you have music on it, and literally like make it under 7 seconds. And on each one, just put the text. So that I would do for a setup. I would use InShot for it. It's quite easy to use. And I think honestly, like setups do really well. If a person wants to get started and not show their face, literally just take your camera, speak over it while you're showing it, and then just chop the pauses and post it.
Okay, I don't have a problem being on camera.
I know you don't, John.
John,
you're like, I'm speaking to the people in case they don't. It's a common question.
I'm looking for help for myself because this
You're the
first video.
exception. So many people don't want to be on.
7 seconds is going to be tough for me, by the way.
So don't think about the 7 seconds. I would say just at first, just show the details. And then it doesn't need to be actually 7 seconds, but
yeah,
you'll see once you have the videos, if you take them separately, just for example, your sign, your mic, your desk, your keyboard, your monitor, right? Or whatever. And then literally just take like a video like that. There is an auto sync button on TikTok. So if you upload, you could literally go press, I want to post on TikTok, pick all the videos you just took and pick a song from the library and press the auto sync button to sync it with the music, and you're done, and put the text.
All right.
So you won't really need to cut it. It'll like sync for you.
It'll sync for
7
me.
seconds.
Will it extend the video within the beat? So an example,
Yeah.
like, okay, so the beat might be longer in certain ones, or the videos, or the image. Okay.
It'll sync it for you, especially if it's a short sound. So depending and you could even test it. So like, let's say you press auto sync and you hear a sound and you're like, okay, I don't like this one. You pick a different sound, you press auto sync again, you get a different edit of the same video. So that was how I started initially, like with just trying to edit, because in TikTok there's an auto sync to the sound button, which is amazing. So highly recommend. Just as long as you upload the video separately, it will understand it's a different section. Or if you take it in one shot, just cut the video when you upload it. It doesn't need to be cut like to an edit. It just needs to be cut so you have like, here's my mic, here's video, here's my thing. It'll pick the section and you could also change where it is.
All right. Linda, how do folks follow you on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram?
So you could go to my website, Linda Vivah, where all my links are there and my setup and all that. I need to add my LinkedIn into there, so I'll add that in. But yeah, you can go to lindavivah.com, and yeah, I'm so thankful to be here.
Stop. Wait, your last name's not Vivah though.
Oh,
wait. I am. Wait, I gotta understand this. I thought it was Habib.
So technically, my social media handle is my last name backwards. Vivah is my social media name, and Habib is my real name. For a very long time, I was kind of doing the social media as like 2 lives almost, because I was doing it at night after work. But now that I work as a developer advocate and I'm using social media as part of like what I do on the day-to-day basis, it is a bit confusing. So please note, Linda Habib, Linda Vivah, same person. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. If you have any advice on what I should do, please tweet me or DM me.
I'd say mix your personalities to one,
I'm like, I have 2 personalities. Oh my gosh. It's very confusing. I'm like, I didn't find you. I'm like, yeah, that's because my last name is just backwards. Last
Okay,
name
I'm gonna
backwards.
put your website, your social media stuff in the description below. Take note that it is the real Linda, last name backwards, reverse, however you want to put it.
I just overcomplicated it.
How about Twitter?
Twitter, also Linda Viva. I
Okay.
kept it consistent with my wrong name.
All right. So your wrong name is consistent everywhere.
Apart from LinkedIn. The only place it's not Linda Viva is LinkedIn.
Oh my God, I'm confused. No. Now wait a second. All right, we won't go there. It's gonna be a little bit to confuse.
We'll link it on the bottom.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll cross link forward back. One domain will redirect to another, and we'll get it right.
I'm trying to add for SEO purposes both names and everything, so working on it.
Did you purchase both domains just in
I did.
case? Oh well.
I also purchased domains for my kids. Oh, I'm big on purchasing domains. Too many, actually.
Yeah, I won't tell you how many I have because I have an idea and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this domain. And then every year that idea is still sitting there.
The collection of side projects that haunt you.
Yeah. But just think of it this way. I think I have like Myer Media and every abbreviation possible just because I want to own it.
You're right to do that, though. Exactly.
So
it's your brand.
Yeah. Hey,
brand is important these days.
I have my NFT already. So just in case.
Amen.
Linda, before we wrap things up, is there anything you want to leave with the audience? We didn't even talk about your role at AWS, but everything transitions over there.
So crazy. I know.
Yeah,
it's like
you're creating this content, but this content's used dual purpose, not only for your current role at AWS.
Yeah.
Wait, before we wrap things up, and we're going over just because we're continuing.
This is the true conversation right here.
Well, actually, all the other stuff was just to get to this conversation, which will last a couple minutes if we're lucky. What do you do at AWS as a developer advocate?
So I think, as the title kind of suggests, it's funny. We're really advocating for developers, right? So it's really about being able to help people and advocate on their behalf in the cloud computing space. A lot of my team is focused on North America general. So, we're kind of regional based. There are specialty developer advocates and there are different kinds of developer advocates. The team I'm on specifically is doing more regional and beginner friendly content and trying to help builders really have the best experience and be the best ally for them. And so when it says advocating, we're really advocating on their behalf and trying to really understand if there's, help them and also understand any issues that are happening and be able to internally advocate for them. So it's really fulfilling work that it could be done in many mediums. Obviously, I do a lot of short form content, but that's just what people see. There's a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of writing, a lot of, research, a lot of assisting in other initiatives. So right now my role is like a mix of building and content but really all about community at heart and being an ally to builders. So it might evolve too. So I'm still in like month 2, so we're figuring it out.
Well, I'm glad we got a chance to touch 2 to 3 minutes on what you do at AWS. We might have to wrap things up and extend it over to another recording in the future.
Looking forward to it.
Question. Any plans at reInvent? Are you going?
I am. I'm co-speaking actually. Yeah. So it'll be a topic regarding machine learning and music. So stay tuned.
Oh, I love the crossing. Did you happen to see the video I did for Remars with the AI battle bots by any chance?
Ooh, I did not, but I plan to watch it right after this call.
I will send it in short. So a couple of your Amazonian friends and myself, we did a quick interview right there at Remars about the AI battle bots, and what they did is they rapped the song. So they were rapping battle bots. And they rapped
so cool. I need to see this.
You can use keywords generated in there, and I was able to spin it into more of a cost optimization feature from them. So it's actually pretty cool to add.
Oh my goodness. I need to see this.
Yeah,
this is right after this call. I need the link.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for joining, giving some insights, some interesting information. And I never say never anymore. You will probably see me on TikTok. I'll rip that Band-Aid off.
I'll be sure to you're going to be on TikTok. We're going to edit the first one together. You're going to be like, why didn't I do this before? I do way harder. You're doing the tougher things, John. So believe me, once you're on it, you'll be like, oh, this is easy compared to YouTube. and podcasting. So
I will get my content out there, and I'll look forward to your help and actually cultivating it and making sure that it gets out just as well. I will just do it at some point. Maybe I've got some free time on my hands now, so I'll get it done. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you on the talk.
All right, awesome. Everybody, Linda Habib, or wait, what's your last name? Did I pronounce
Vivah, Habib, Vivah,
Yeah.
to be determined.
Yeah, I know. Developer advocate at AWS. I really appreciate you joining. My name's John Myer. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify, because guess what, folks? We're out of here.